Hey, Kurt.
My name's Kurt. This is Jake. This is Graham.
Graham here.
If you forgot us, we're back.
We're back.
We're never leaving. We
No.
took a little bit of a break. So this is Salt&Light podcast. And you know what? We should advertise this more when we have different chances to be up on the stage.
I totally
Like
agree.
You're doing some things. You should just mention it when you're up there.
Totally.
Because no one's ever heard of it.
I think I will.
Yeah.
But I'll make it more subtle. I'll be like, this past week in the podcast, we were talking about XYZ. Because if you try to plug it, then people are like, oh, he's trying to make me listen to his podcast. It's a shameless endorsement. People don't like that.
Right.
It comes across slimy.
So I was thinking about this, and we want to continue. So and I don't know if you guys even agree with the three. I don't know. Commitments is a word. Is another thing that we want to. First and foremost, we want to be a community for people who watch. We want to be entertaining for those people who watch, and then we want to talk about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I think we want to keep doing that. So speaking of that, I just want to start out with more on the Jesus end a little bit, but then we can throw anything in.
Great, yeah.
Oh, just before that, so there was there used to be a time when my daughter was younger, and she would see like a possum dead on the road.
Yeah.
And I would say to her, "You don't know it's dead."
Oh,
That's true.
So
it's like
the boy who cried wolf.
From then on, I would always say to her, "I just saw a possum on the road. Watch out."
Yeah.
Because it
could bite
so
you.
You never know.
I came across a little YouTube short. This guy had a possum on there.
Yeah.
It was really fascinating. He gave a little bit of history. So he saw this possum.
Was he just like
chased after
holding it?
And the possum, because it gets freaked out if someone's chasing after it, its internal whatever just stops. So that's why it almost becomes dead.
Plays dead.
So he's able to pick it up. And they don't bite or anything. They don't have rabies. And your average possum eats 5,000 ticks a year.
Whoa.
So
Wow,
the
bless
ticks will
the
get on
possums.
them, and then they eat them.
Yep.
The ticks can't bite into them because apparently
They have thick skin?
They don't have they don't have a good taste, I guess.
Oh, that would
something
probably
like
be
that.
true,
That
too.
you know,
Oh, wow.
like a collar. Anyhow, that just came to my mind.
That's amazing.
That's one of those. Well, entertainment, and I should add educational too into the thing, but
They're
put
so
on there.
ugly and terrifying looking.
They are, 'cause
so
they got
you'd
the
think
teeth.
they would be mean.
They got the teeth, but no, he was just holding this big old fella, and he just rubbing his belly, and he was a wild one.
Weird.
Yeah.
They hiss. I know that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
I've
they'll
seen
hiss at
people
you.
like hold them.
No,
and
they don't.
hiss.
They look frightening.
Yeah, they'll hiss and then they'll play dead, but they won't. Apparently, they don't fight back.
No,
Is that what?
no,
is that what
that's
we're-
right.
He plays dead. Yeah.
They got like crazy looking teeth and
Yeah,
all
they
that stuff.
do.
They look like a big
Yeah.
rat.
Yeah.
They definitely do.
They can hang from their tail, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah,
I've never
so-
seen them actually do that.
No.
I've seen one on the ground before.
Yeah.
But
So anyhow, look into that,
pretty tame.
everybody. Tell us about your latest possum
So they
stories.
can't get rabies. They're immune to rabies.
They're not immune, but just like we don't get rabies either. But so they're not typically rabid.
Interesting. Does anything want to eat a possum, or is it just
I don't
like
know.
universally?
Probably tastes pretty bad.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
It's like a crow. It's like just just stay away.
Kind of like
Or a skunk.
what are those things in Texas? Like shell-looking things.
Oh, armadillos?
Armadillos. Yeah.
Yeah.
You get some kind of disease from those.
Really?
Yeah. So weird. It's a weird disease. I forget what it is. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look into that.
but anyhow-
Koalas, I know they carry diseases as well.
Isaac, look that up.
Been talking about yeah. Isaac looked that up for us.
Yeah, can
while
you look
we're-
that up, Isaac?
We're talking about the things of the church. This is kind of interesting what I saw, and so it'd be interesting to see if you guys are right or wrong, if you agree with me or not.
Glad that's your barometer.
we were talking about church yesterday with some folks. So I was mentioning it to Jake as well a minute ago. We can bring that topic up too if we want.
Yeah.
But in Ephesians 5:19 and Colossians 3:16, Paul talks about singing or with hymns, songs, and spiritual psalms and spiritual songs. Mm-hmm. And
It's almost a tongue twister.
I was wondering, well, what is that? Because it was from his perspective. We can put our own thoughts on that, right? So a spiritual song is me doing Chris Tomlin tunes.
Yep.
But I don't think Paul was thinking about that because Chris Tomlin wasn't alive at that time.
Right.
True.
Did you know that? What are you doing?
I'm actually looking at the passage.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
good.
to make
All
sure you're right.
Okay. I thought you were.
I can't trust
just, looking at your email or something. So anyhow, I started looking it up on the interweb, and there was a lot of just fluffy stuff like, oh, just, something from your spirit.
Sure.
But what was fascinating, I found one site that talked about in the Greek, in the Septuagint, that it actually classified the Psalms in those ways, as regular Psalms and then songs and then what did I say?
Spiritual
songs.
Spiritual song. Yeah. So there was a spiritual. So they're actually in the Septuagint labeled that way, and so the thought was that they would just sing the different psalms that encompass what Paul was saying in those three categories. And I thought it was interesting because we don't do any of those things.
No. And I would say even what we consider hymns aren't really what Paul would have considered a hymn.
Right. So kind of like when in Matthew 26, when the gang was heading out to the garden, they sang a hymn after they ate their last. So let's just talk about culturally timely. Well, the Psalms were written 900 years before the boys were singing them there in those places.
Or 1,000 years maybe.
Yeah, close to 1,000. Yeah. And so that's not an excuse for us because we're in a different time.
Right.
Because they were too. But I feel like we ought to look into that a little bit and say, well, so then what kind of melody would we stick on one of those?
Right.
That's what I want to know.
Is the melody important?
Yeah,
other than like the feel,
I don't know.
Is it spiritually important?
And so song, and I was just reading this in the interlinear on this particular thing. I forget what I was looking at. Oh, I know what it is. In James 5, it talks about singing, and in the Greek there, it was very akin to plucking. And it's like a harp or something like that.
Yeah, a lyre.
So don't call me a liar. And so, I don't know. I feel like we should just throw everything. You're the new guy, right?
Yeah.
Chuck all that stuff. Let's bring it on.
Done. Yeah.
So should we just are you proposing that we just go to the Psalms and just sing the Psalms?
It seems like it, but in the different types, right? And so in this, I could send you the link.
You'd please do.
I'll send you the link because then it even classifies. It gives the list of all the Psalms that are under each one of these things. Because Paul was speaking to a Greek audience, so the Septuagint was very, that was what they would have looked at.
Do you think that?
This is kind of nerdy, isn't it?
It's a little bit. Okay. A little bit Bible nerdy. That's okay. Would you guess, if you had to, that the early members of the early church would not have sang any of their own created songs then? Yeah,
like they didn't have Christoph Tomlin or something like that.
There wasn't. They weren't writing poetry.
You don't think they might have taken some of the sea shanties from some of the sailors and turned them into spiritual songs
because Mighty Fortress is Our God was like a bar tune.
I think that's what either the Wesley brothers or somebody did that, right?
Martin Luther did that.
Martin Luther did that. Okay.
So I don't know the answer to that, but again,
at
Paul's time, if this guy was correct, they were grabbing something from a millennia ago and saying this was still relevant.
But you have to make adaptations. Like whenever you take something from one language and bring it into another with rhyme schemes and melodies and different things like that, you'd probably have to make some adaptations. I mean, you could probably keep the lyrics mostly the same as what you see in the scripture, but as far as just kind of the melody, the rhyme scheme,
so I'll give it
to
you that let's write Our God is an Awesome God or something like that, right? Yeah. But I don't know that we then toss out the other piece.
Right. That is important. I think we should go back and do.
Yeah. I just don't know how to do it.
I think even
you're our minstrel.
Yeah, well, please send me that because I would actually love to incorporate that, and even like Vicky did, I'll say a version of that unintentionally on Sunday.
I remember her singing. Yeah,
she didn't sing, but she read scripture while the band was playing the chord progression. So there's music underneath.
Yeah,
and I think
did she sway at all?
I don't know. I didn't see her, but I think. Even that is a beautiful time. Just I think we can incorporate a lot more of that, but it would be really fun and I think meaningful to put some simple music to a lot of the different psalms and do that as
yeah.
I don't think we need to throw out every.
Well, what I was thinking about is the AI blues thing that I sent you. Yeah. They have them for the Psalms.
I bet they do.
They do.
Yeah. It seems like it's pretty easy to generate now. Yeah. That thing can just do whatever.
We could go back in time pretty easy.
There's this guy on Spotify that I found. It's called Project of Love, and he just takes Bible passages and puts them into song, and they're really good. I'd recommend listening to it. I'll send it to you guys after. Yeah. But I've really enjoyed listening to it, and it's just straight scripture put into song, and he kind of makes up different melodies and stuff like that. But it's
sure he's not AI.
Well, actually, if you go to his YouTube, it says we use no AI.
Oh wow.
On the cover.
You don't think AI could say that?
That's exactly what AI would say.
Yeah, exactly.
I would do that if I were AI.
No, they've interviewed him and stuff like that, and his inspiration behind it.
He said, "I'm not lying.
Yeah, I'm a real person,
not a robot. A little box that he can check off."
Yeah.
Crazy world.
He was able to identify all the bicycles in the picture.
Yeah,
I have a hard time with that. So
I know it
I
can
get
be
really
tough.
Anxious. Wait a second, this looks like one.
It's gonna lock me out of my email again.
It's tough when it's click on all the trucks, and it'll be 4x4 Ford trucks, and then it'll be a FedEx truck or something like that, and you're like, I guess technically that is a truck. And then you click on it, it's sorry, you got it wrong. You're like, what? No. Robot. I'm a real person.
I'd like to fight this. Can I talk to Google, please?
Yeah. Who can I talk to?
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. I think maybe we've talked about this before, but it's right in line with what you were bringing up. Because in this position, as you can imagine, I'll get a lot of suggestions.
So it's begun.
Oh,
no way!
I was blown away by how people found my emails.
Are they being forwarded from Josh or
no?
Or they just all
people found me.
Yeah, this is their opportunity.
Yeah, people found me.
They're like, finally, maybe Jake will listen to my requests.
It doesn't stop, really. Yeah. I know from Josh telling me that it just kind of comes, which is fine. Most of it's totally innocent and fine.
Are you replying to everybody?
No, not always. And when I do, sometimes you have to be okay with just being clear and honest or whatever. Yeah. But what I've found over the years, because people used to do it, people have always done it because I've been leading worship, so they would assume I have pull on what we play, and that's true to some extent. But many, many times, people will suggest Christian songs that aren't worship songs, and there's a clear delineation. And so I'll usually try to help people understand the difference, that a Christian song might be a song that is about Jesus or about our journey in faith, but it's not ascribing worship and worth to God, and so it's not out of a place of praising Him. It's just
these are the times of Elijah. Is that a Christian song or a worship song? These are the days. These, I guess.
That's a camp song.
Is it?
Yeah.
That's its own category.
I'd have to go back through the lyrics, because sometimes even a worship song has moments. If you were to hyperanalyze every lyric, you'd say, well, that's not it. That's not about God.
Yeah.
But overall, I think some songs are like a lot of what you hear on K-Love or Air One. Those are Christian songs. They're not worship songs. And I guess I didn't really even think about this, but I heard someone on a podcast say, up until probably the maybe mid to late, maybe 2010, 2015, worship music wasn't even really played on Christian radio. They didn't songs that you hear in churches weren't even played on the radio that much. It was all just Christian,
contemporary Christian music.
Yeah. And so, but then I think worship music kind of exploded in popularity to listen to all the time, which has good things and bad things about it. But yeah, I try to help educate a little bit on, just because it's a Christian song doesn't mean it's.
So are you saying worship's better than Christian music, or what are you saying?
I think so, but one's not bad. Yeah.
Right. No, and it has its place.
Yeah, has its place.
Do you? This is going to be some hard hitting questions here.
Oh, I love it.
Do you feel like you want to do something more on the worship side of things than the church has been doing for some time here.
When you say, clarify what you mean by that.
More. What if I said more worshipful? Does that make sense? Is that not clear enough?
No, I mean,
and I'm not saying go from A to Z. I'm saying go from A to B or C.
Yeah, Keen and I have had this conversation quite a bit of recent, and the answer that I have might seem a little deflecting, but I believe it to be true, that there are things that we can do to create environments and to create space for worship to happen.
Yeah.
But I actually think Sunday morning praise, which is what it is, it's not worship, it's praise, which can lead and have worship elements, but it's not. Playing music is not worship in and of itself. But we can do things that remove distraction, that create space, that help people focus on certain themes or aspects of God, which can all be helpful to move somebody into a place of eliminating distraction to be able to worship. But worship on Sundays is only a byproduct. So we can control all the elements that we have control over, but I cannot, even as the creative pastor leading the worship team, I cannot increase worship or decrease worship in that space.
Right.
I can only add or remove distraction.
So we could, if we were talking about this, so music in itself is an entity.
Yep.
is quite often an emotional draw. Consequently, it's very subjective to the given person to have a certain emotion. So in your quest here, you need to almost leapfrog that, because people that will email you are mostly doing things that have tugged on their heart when they hear about that. So to go into something that's worshipful rather than, oh, I really like this because it sends me someplace, where we want Jesus to send them someplace. That's an interesting quest.
It is. So I'll say, and I don't want to domineer the conversation, but
Too late. He's been talking about that.
Too late. Yeah. The current landscape of it, I'll say, is that we have a bit of, I think it's always led by preference. So people will kind of deem things, certain spiritual things, based on their preference. And what's current, I'd say, for us, and I feel this way too, and so I'm always trying to analyze it or bring it before God, is that soft, reflective music is more worshipful and spiritual and gives more space for God than upbeat, happy music. And I think that if you give more space, there's more quote unquote spontaneous worship, that it's more spiritual. And I'd say that type of music, which people are going to see and experience more of on Sundays, there's a reason why we do it, because it gives more space for that to happen, and it pulls the distraction of music away a little bit and strips it back, which I think is a good thing. But it's actually neutral in its spirituality.
I would say it's only more spiritual because the spiritual side is dependent on Him.
Right.
And so what you're doing is you're creating space for Him to enter in, rather than me obsessing over a lyric that's on a...
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And same, Keenan and I will talk about crescendos or the swells at the end of songs. They're musically, they're neutral. It doesn't that doesn't necessarily, it's just music. But what it does to a person who's experiencing it is it almost subconsciously causes a tradition reaction to happen. So they hear a swell, they think, I have to clap.
Yeah.
And so that gives it's, and again, clapping is not spiritually right or wrong.
Our version of the shofar then?
I mean, kind of. I think you could have people, because what people will say, because it's all based on preference, certain people would say that hymns on an organ is more spiritual than a guitar, electric guitar, and drums.
Right.
That's not true innately. They're both neutral. They're just instruments. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You could play, you could hum, Kurt could hum and I could sing. That's just as, it's neutral, but what people equate with it is less distraction, or a time where people were less consumeristic. Mm-hmm. And so in their mind, they have this nostalgia of, well, people were more worshipful when we were singing hymns.
Yeah.
And God was more of a priority. So we need to sing hymns because that is more God honoring. Yeah. Mm. And it's like, well, let's get our hearts in a posture of worship. And then however mode we use, and we want to always be aware of, because you add a guitar solo, that's very distracting from giving God the space.
Says you.
It all depends.
I'm just giving you a hard time. I'm sorry.
No, I don't care. I have to, it's actually really good.
Have you ever seen that Oceans video on YouTube where the guy does the drum solo as she's trying to sing Oceans, and it's just and it's a real video, you can tell it's during a Sunday morning.
Yeah.
And she's singing Oceans, which is this really soft song, and then about 2 minutes in, the drummer just starts doing a drum solo in the middle of it. And she's so distracted.
Yeah.
It's funny.
And there's elements where we could do that same thing unintentionally. Right. And even in I'd say in a quest of excellence or doing a good job.
Yeah.
Some of it we have to, as a worship team and a worship leader, we have to just give over to God and say, well, that's not our control.
Yeah.
But if, say, we do a really quote unquote excellent job with the musicianship, so the band sounds really good and the vocals are really good and people are enjoying it, if people's hearts are not focused on God themselves, they'll fall in love with the quality of the song.
Yeah.
And they just have a good time listening to the music. But if we were to mess up all the time, that's also very distracting. So I want to unhitch us from the ownership and weight that we are the ones dictating whether worship was good this morning or it wasn't. Mm-hmm. If God's presence is in that place and people are worshiping him, it doesn't really matter. We could have instrumental Willing Magusto on. If people are worshiping him, then that's the important thing. I want us to do an excellent job so that we're not adding distraction, but I want people to leave completely forgetting who sang what song, how the band sounded. It should be irrelevant, and people should remember, man, was the presence of God in that place this morning or not?
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure Paul used an applause meter.
Yeah, an applause meter, yeah.
So I don't
think we have an applause meter.
I have a question, and Kurt, I'd be curious to hear what you have to say about it. But if you could go back to the drawing board, and it's interesting when sometimes I'll just kind of look around at what other churches' services look like in this area. And for the most part, we're all doing the same thing on Sunday. You have a couple songs off the start. Maybe there's someone who gives some announcements or a welcome moment. You have a sermon. Usually they're 30 minutes to 50 minutes long. And then they have closing songs, and then it's over. And that's the church service. And I just think it's interesting, that's kind of what we've designated as what our Sunday service is going to look like in the Western church. But I'd be curious to know, if you could just kind of start with a blank slate. There was no cultural.
Was he in there?
I don't know. Did you hear him talk about this?
No.
This is exactly what he asked.
That's before you came in.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh, the Spirit is one among us, I guess. But if you could just start with a blank slate and you could be okay. And there was no cultural expectations. And I think part of it is we play to the expectations of what people are looking for, right? Whether they're coming up from South Carolina and they moved here and they're well, I want a church like I had back home or whatever. And so I think there's an element that we recognize those expectations, we play into them. And then we also, I think there's a definite inherent benefit of the style of worship and structure of service that we have. But when you look at the Old Testament, or not the Old Testament, excuse me, the early church and the New Testament, it seems there's not a whole lot of description of, okay, this is what the service time looked like when the believers met together. Yep. They broke bread, there was teaching, there's probably some praise, there's some prayer and things like that. But Kurt, what do you think?
I can phrase this. This is how I've been chatting with some folks about it.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it with our lead team, as a matter of fact. And so really pretty much the same thing you're saying. However, so the question was, we're talking with some folks at TTP yesterday about this as well.
Should we add any disclaimers before you start here, or
it's me talking? that's
everything you're about to say is what we're going to do,
I'm not
right?
Representing anybody, but that if I gave you 4 walls and a roof, so you could keep out of the weather, essentially. So that's all I'm giving you.
Okay.
That you had no concerns about finances.
Sweet.
And you had no concerns about what people thought. So you weren't trying. You didn't have to please anybody.
Possible?
What would because I have to go more than just a Sunday service, because that's the can of worms you are opening now.
Right.
Is what would the church look like? And it was interesting when you're talking with people who are used to the Western model of church, evangelicalism. What they'll do is they'll give their own ideas or preferences that fit in to the same tradition that we've all been having, rather than just kind of strip it off to go back kind of the early church. What was going on in those houses in Romans 16?
Exactly.
And what did that look like? And they were singing out of Septuagint. I don't know. But that's,
and even the question could be too, like, even if we did know what they were doing, does that mean that's what we should be doing?
Yeah. So it seems like even from Jake's soliloquy on what's spiritual or not, I mean, that's what we're doing. We're pursuing Jesus.
Right.
So what's the best way to do that? So we could look at some things that we're doing today and say, if you had it on a continuum of distracting versus moving me toward, depending on who you are, you'd say a particular song or something that we would do would be somewhere on that. I'll go a little bit further here. So one of the things that Jake and I were just talking about as well was the way, and you came in on that, right? So we dump everything into the bucket of a pastor, whereas in Ephesians 4, he gave gifts to the church, and I don't believe those were offices. So if you had 40 people in your 4 walls and a roof, I believe God would gift certain people to be prophets, evangelists, apostles, pastors, and teachers within that. They'd kind of start fulfilling those roles because of a gift that he would give them. Consequently, out of that, then that would start to dictate what a Sunday might look like as well, because you'd almost want a lot of those things. So if you look at 1 Corinthians 12 through 14, we don't do those things in here, even though they did them there, but it seems that Paul held those things in high esteem.
Like speaking in tongues, for instance, or
the prophetic, prophetic of encourage, strengthening, and comforting people. So not saying, I know you have been disobedient or that kind of thing, that we're not doing that. But I think there's elements of that I think would ride in on the carpet of spiritual worship, rather than just 1, 2, 3 and have the Genmo person come out. So I think there's just to be. I wouldn't say this is what you should do. I'd say let's ask Jesus what we should do. But can we do that without trying to be a customer service organization? Yeah. Because what's the best customer service I could do for you if you were attending my church is to bring you into the presence of God, not for you to walk away and said, I had a great service today.
Sure.
That's deceptive.
Totally. Yeah, and I think that's the thing that is tricky that you have to get down to the ground layer of, is you have to start to rethink, like, okay, what should be someone's expectations when they're coming to church? Should it be that they receive something? Should it be that they feel something? Should it be that they're contributing something, depending on how far along in their walk they are? And then also, what is a specific gathering for, right? Like, is it for the encouragement and the edification of the believer there? And are you trying to just equip them?
Yes.
And are you talking to them?
Yes.
Or are you, and this, well, when you start saying yes, you realize your plate can only get so full, because then you're like, well, we want to do that. And then it's like, but then what about the person who brings their friend who's not a Christian? Do we speak to them? And Should we focus on them or should we focus on the believer?
Well, you're going to keep going on this question. So Paul talks about those people in 14 that when they come in and they see these things going on, they say, "Oh, God must be here."
Right.
And so we don't have to have a low bar for those things. We just have to go after and worship Him, and that will take place. And the church itself shouldn't be, the main purpose shouldn't be as an evangelistic tool.
Have we outsourced our evangelism to the Sunday morning?
You go home from being edified.
Have we outsourced our evangelism to Sunday morning, Kurt?
I think so.
Is that a bad thing?
Come here. Yeah. It's not a bad thing, but it shouldn't be the main thing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tricky. Ooh, someone's having a party outside.
Yeah.
Friends are coming together.
Did we turn our light on that said we were recording?
I know.
How they not
Can
respecting
they be quiet
our situation.
out there?
Yeah.
Isaac, can you send a WebEx out to everybody? Just right. Shh. Oh, man.
Yeah, I think when we look at the Sunday service, then we equally put like too much weight on that, and then we also sometimes don't hyper evaluate it. So I think we're kind of on this journey of analyzing our Sunday mornings, because we know that culturally that's the most impactful. People are giving the most of their time and attention during that moment. So we want to steward that moment really well. So that's why we analyze what should Sunday mornings look like, because we know primarily out of all the people that are a part of the church, we get the most of their attention during that time. So we want to steward that really well. But I think if we look at the purpose of the church to encourage and embolden and empower and all that, equip the saints, then I think what we can look at is what we do in setting aside time to worship and pray together, and then teach. And because I would say that if we're teaching with the purpose of equipping the saints, that's a good thing. And then we want to demonstrate what bringing that home looks like, and encourage and ask people to do that. And then we kind of celebrate, and then hopefully equip to send out. I think none of those things are bad things. It doesn't accomplish everything that we would love for it to accomplish, but I don't think that you can in an hour and a half. So I think it's almost like what we need to do is help people understand that the pastor, the people on the platform, the church is not going to accomplish all of the goals of being with and being a follower of Jesus for you. Yeah. We can demonstrate it. We can encourage you to do it. We can celebrate together. But that if you're kind of coming to play at church, it's multifaceted. So I think if people were to start coming with that lens in mind, you'd find that there'd be way more engagement in prayer out on the out in the church. There'd be a way more needs being met, a lot more networking to meet needs. There'd be a lot I think that we would eventually raise up people to help people with freedom and deliverance on Sunday morning. So if people are coming in tormented and attacked, we'd have people ready and willing to be able to sit with them and pray and all those things. Yeah. I think we'd see people being healed. We'd see people giving testimony, all those things. But it doesn't necessarily mean we can't do what we're doing for that to happen. It could happen in addition to, but people's expectations of what coming here on a Sunday morning would have to change. 100%. So how do we accomplish that?
And then what expectations they shouldn't have is this is where they are to be fed during that hour and a half. Yeah, because that's where, as you being our life group guru, that's where we want to see a lot of that take place. That even the conversation we're having right now could be taking place out on the turf as well. Yeah, that people are having these chats, and then they can continue in the homes for life group. And in life group, if that kind of conversation, these kind of spiritual development conversations could begin to crowd out just the community side of it, that would probably be helpful because people would start hearing that.
Mm-hmm. I think in a lot of ways people, and I think you've said this, people will rise and fall to the level of the expectations that we set.
Yeah.
And that really falls on us as the staff of the church and the pastors of the church to really set those expectations, and not in like a pharisaical way that's like, you got to do this and that and the other thing and putting legalism on people. But I really think, we want to set a bar of when we're together on Sundays that we're going after Jesus, that we want to have an encounter with him, that we want to worship him, that we want to even empower people and give people the keys, that if they're feeling the Holy Spirit is tugging on them to give somebody a word or to pray for somebody, to do that. And I think it's up to us to even make space for that as well, in ways that make sense, because I think what a lot of people, when they hear this conversation, they want to pull the e-brake and they're like, well, are people just going to start like breaking the order of the service, while somebody's preaching? Is someone going to be like, I have a word, and I think we all run to like the worst case scenarios, but how do we make room for that? Mm-hmm. And then even in the small groups, like what's the expectation in the small groups? Is it that people are going after Jesus together, that they're encountering the presence of God and practicing that and praying together? Or is it like, hey, we have cookies and we talk about life, and like those things are all great, but if that's the expectation, mm-hmm. And the thing is, a lot of times expectations are conveyed like implicitly by what we do more so than what we even say. Yep. And I think we should speak them out really clearly, but I think a lot of times it's just like the way we act, the level of like casualness that sometimes we have or mm-hmm. whatever it might be conveys to people. It's like, oh, okay, we're just kind of chilling here, or whatever it is.
I have a metaphor for you.
Yeah.
So I made some chicken wings in the air fryer last week.
Ooh, sounds good.
And so I put the chicken wings after they're done in the air fryer in a little Tupperware type container, mm-hmm. and I put some barbecue sauce in the container. It's not covering all the wings, but I cover it up and then I shake it.
Oh, there you go.
And then I open it up and it's spread over them all.
Wow.
And so in the life group setting, that's ultimately what we should have tasty. What was I having? What was the guy's name? The guy with a picture on the cover of it.
Sweet Baby Ray.
No, it's not Sweet Baby Ray. His picture's not that.
Is he the chef guy with the spiky hair?
No, it's like a fellow from down south.
Yeah, I know.
This is important.
Bubba's?
Yep.
Oh, Daddy, no. Something. Anyhow,
I know who you're talking about.
Sweet Heat, the one I have.
Yeah.
But anyhow, that's what should be happening.
Isaac, pull that up.
In our
Isaac, look that up.
In our life groups,
come on, Isaac.
Is that community piece that it should all be flavored with Jesus. So our whole lifestyle and everything, we should kind of be shaken. And so the time that we spend specifically in the Word and in prayer, mm-hmm. that's pouring the sauce on us, and then we shake it up when we're talking to one another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that should be our lifestyle all the time. There should never be a time where I got dry wings.
Right.
It should never be that.
Yeah.
It should always be on everything.
Yeah. So everything we do should be pushing us towards Jesus.
Yeah.
And if you're in like a context in the church where that's not happening, then something's off.
Yeah. Well, and so as you were describing all of that, that was exactly what I was talking about. Is I think that though all of those things are important, so say somebody has words, prophetic words, or somebody has a burden to pray over other people, even some of the expectation is we have to break, like Sunday service has to be in the auditorium. That has to be the environment that takes place, which might happen. God can certainly stop what we're doing to do something for the good of the church, and that's fine. But I think also people shouldn't come with that being the only way this is valuable is if it happens on the platform in front of the service. There is tons of time throughout the morning that you could connect with people and minister to people. You could bring the words to the pastor or to people after the fact to be shared, and it can be proliferated that way. But I think what we don't see is I think we're seeing it way more than we ever have. But what we want to see more and more of is the church ministering to one another in all aspects of life throughout the week, but certainly on Sunday mornings. And now I think you see it more, where you'll see pockets of people praying over one another, people sharing encouragements and words, and you see it. But I think until you've tasted and seen and experienced that, you think it has to be top down. It has to be the staff giving that to the people.
Right.
And it's like, oh no, that's the whole point of getting together on a Sunday, is that collectively, as Jesus moves in and among his people, that we would encourage and give that to one another. And I just think even when we're doing the things we should be doing, it's swayed by our expectations of what it should look like, both from our end, but also from our people. And where, like, if somebody comes from maybe a more
like liturgical or charismatic.
more charismatic, Pentecostal background, maybe they feel like, oh, if God gives me an encouraging word that might be prophetic, I have to get to the microphone on this platform ASAP. And say it, or this church is like not being like following, they're not being submissive to Jesus. Mm-hmm. Maybe, but more than likely that word is for someone that they could give. But it's like, where's the heart motivation? Is that their expectation that that's the way it has to look? Or is that what God is placing on them? Because I don't know. I think it's the same thing about the songs being hyper spiritual, if they're sound one way or not. I think depending on our traditions and backgrounds, we think that one way of behaving is holy and one way is not.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, let's pull preference out of it. What does Scripture say? What does Jesus say is right and it's wrong? You know?
Yeah.
But it's hard because I think there's so much. We were just talking this morning before about how difficult it is to break from our own traditions and
it's tough.
We don't even recognize that they are traditions.
No.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, part of the challenge of this conversation, going back to the beginning of it, is it's like, okay, if you had a blank slate, what would you do? But it's like, we don't have a blank slate. And so it's like, okay, so like, how do you take your ideals and bring them into what we have now? You know?
But you use the blank slate exercise to say, I would do this, this, and this. And then you look at what you have and say, is there a way
how do we make it line up
somehow?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think when I get asked that question, I'm more and more, because it's the same way I feel about worship that I explained more on the front end.
Yeah.
I'm more and more feeling and believing that there is not one way. Like, if you gave me a blank slate, I don't know that there is a perfect recipe. Yeah. That if we followed that would be the most obedient. That I think that could change, because there are times in Jesus' ministry where he's in a crowd, and he's healing people and he's laying hands on people and casting out demons. And there are times when he's teaching and people are seated and listening. There's times where he's rebuking. There's times where they're just in prayer. There's times when he goes off by himself. It looks so. Yeah. It's very dynamic.
And that's why the church has been able to go to every culture and pretty much every country, is because it's adaptable, and it's not like, oh, you have to meet in a building that looks like this, and you have to have a pastor, and you have to have a worship band, and there has to be lighting and all this stuff.
Right.
The fact that it is very simple, and you could do it in a home, you could do it under a tree in Africa, you could do it in a 90,000 square foot building like we have, like, shows that the church is it's adaptable. It can grow in almost any, pretty much every soil, you know.
That's where I was saying that it wouldn't be an argument where, like, the three of us would have different ideas, but it'd be interesting just if you wrote them down. If I knew what yours were and what yours were, that would be of interest to me. To say what, but then it might change all the time.
Yeah, and it definitely could.
Jesus didn't heal anybody the same.
Right.
It was all differently. But to open I guess it's more of an exercise to open our minds to say, how is our tradition sometimes trapping us?
Yeah. Well, it's I'm not advocating that we keep certain things, because I think what we always have to be aware of is idolatry. Whenever we've placed things in the improper place, like this is untouchable. Like we can't get rid of this because this is how you approach God. That's just a form of idolatry. We're just elevating something to a place it shouldn't be. But I think we that pendulum swings a lot where we start to demonize certain things that are inherently neutral, because they've been done in a way that has been not good, right? Like we might even, what the really ironic piece is, the three of us might demonize big churches a little bit because of how poorly they are often done, and they might be neutral, but they certainly have a lot of the risk for distraction, the risk for idolatry is really high when you start putting all these extra pieces in place. But maybe if we stay submissive to Jesus, maybe the reach is really large and God can do a lot through it. So I believe there's probably like large churches that the staff and the people are really hungry for God, and God's doing a mighty work through them.
Yeah.
And then there are certainly large churches that their hearts are very far from him because they're in love with their stuff, their way of doing things. So I want to keep my heart, even from some kind of keep myself from getting pharisaical about the way maybe we do things. Like if we were to strip a lot back, what I don't want to do is fall in love with that method and that mode of doing it, saying that's what made it holy, because that's not.
Yeah. And I think a big like thing we have to kind of confront ourselves with as we have this conversation as well is it's like if everything was stripped away from us, say like this church building was no longer here, we didn't have our Sunday worship, we had some kind of like authoritarian government that was like, okay, you can't worship or else you'll be executed or go to jail. Like, would you still be able to connect with Jesus as deeply? Would you still be able to live on mission for him as passionately if we didn't have all these things?
Right.
And I think like, if I look at myself in the mirror, I think my answer would be yes, but if you're relying on these things too much, then, and the answer would be no, then that's kind of, that should be a check in your spirit to go, why is that the case? Because the reality is like, God wants to use people whose hearts are willing for him, who are open to his spirit, and who are just like, look around at the harvest field and they see other people around them and they go, oh, why can't I step into that? Why can't I be Jesus for these people? Why can't I have a gathering in my home of other believers where we open up the word and where we sing hymns and psalms and spiritual songs?
I think I can sum it up as we finish up to look at what happened in Whoville.
What happened in Whoville, Kurt?
The Grinch took everything and it didn't matter.
Didn't matter.
Yeah. So if we could just sing that song.
And he was the unbeliever, right?
Saying in Whoville right now. We could all join hands. Hey,
someone's heart is growing.
Make sure you tell your friends that this is the happening place. God bless you all.
Amen.